Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, the battle over Medicaid expansion is now in the State House of Representatives. We'll get an update with the Arizona Capitol Times. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals strikes down Arizona's 20-week abortion ban. We'll get legal analysis from ASU Law Professor Paul Bender. And we'll learn about a mobile eye tracking device designed to help facilitate online education. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Medicaid expansion is still being considered by lawmakers, and the governor continues her bill-signing moratorium. Here with the latest in our weekly legislative update is Jim Small of the Arizona Capitol Times. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. Medicaid expansion, we talked all last week. Senate, all sorts of fireworks. Also moves over to the House. Fireworks. Anything going on?
Nothing this week. The bills got over to the House on Monday, I think, and right now it's just kind of a holding pattern. House Speaker Andy Tobin last week put out his plan for how he wants to address the Medicaid issue. Has some reforms, has some legislative oversight, has some different provisions than what the governor had initially proposed. And most strikingly, the thing it would do is send it to the ballot for a special election in the fall. He's trying to shop that around. Essentially, is what's going on right now, trying to get support for that. Initially, there was really no support for it. He's been meeting with hospitals, with insurance companies, with members of the business community, trying to really sell them on the virtues of why his plan is a better plan than what the governor's offering. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. And I think there's also some discussions amongst Republicans in the caucus about both his plan and what the Senate budget is, and maybe what priorities they want to see in the budget versus what the Senate passed.
As far as what he's trying to sell to, I guess, outside interests and to lawmakers as well, anyone buying?
Tough to say right now. I know initially last week after he proposed sending it to the ballot, a number of our folks in our office were talking to House Republicans and not finding a lot of support for it. In fact, finding almost no support for it outside of the Speaker and maybe one or two other people. You've got a group of folks who don't like the expansion and don't want to put it on the ballot because of that. And you've got a group of folks who support the governor's plan and would rather go that option as opposed to putting it on the ballot. So I think if Speaker Tobin hopes to kind of keep this idea alive, I think it's incumbent on him to kind of get together a core group of people who are going to support it and use that as a way to try to get something out of the governor's office.
Let's say that he gets something out of the House, and he does wind up winning this and sells enough to get this out there. Is the Senate going to go along with something like this? As
it stands right now, probably not. I think really what the thought process here is that, okay, the Senate got their budget out, they sent it to the House. Now the governor's office is going to work with the House and with Democrats, Republicans, whoever it is, to find a plan that's going to get out of there, that's going to, first of all, get to the floor, and the Speaker will let advance, and second of all, that will get the votes it needs to get out, and then at that point it'll be sent back over to the Senate for a final vote.
We almost had a mutiny there in the Senate regarding this particular plan for expanding Medicaid. Compare that kind of acrimony I guess would be a good way to describe it, with what's happening in the House. I mean, the two dynamics there.
Yeah, well, the Republican caucus in the Senate is fractured and has been for a number of years. I mean, I think ever since Russell Pierce got elected Senate President, I mean, you've had nothing but infighting in a lot of ways and really a clear divide amongst Republicans in that chamber. House hasn't really been that way. Andy Tobin is well liked amongst his members, and even folks who may disagree with him politically, he goes out of his way to really defend what they do and to really fight for their issues and stand up for them, and so I think he's built up a lot of loyalty there. So while most observers think that the votes do exist in the House, if the Medicaid expansion were to go to the floor tomorrow, that the votes would be there and it would get 31, 32, 33 votes and it would pass. But the difference is you don't have the group of Republicans who would vote for that. They're not willing to basically undermine their leadership. And they're not willing to do the procedural things that happen in the Senate in order to force that vote to happen and to force the policy through.
How much, we've talked about this from the get-go, this idea that some see the provider assessment as a tax and thus would need 2/3 of the legislature to go ahead and approve this. Obviously, we're not seeing 2/3 approving anything right now. Is that 2/3 thing still kind of sort of Damocles hanging over the whole process?
Well, it is, and that's one of the things that Speaker Tobin has said, is that he thinks that this is a tax increase, and as such, the Constitution requires a 2/3 majority, and certainly some of the opponents of the expansion have said that as well. For a lot of those people, whether that 2/3 majority exists or not, they'd still be opponents of it. That it's something to say against it, but it's not necessarily what's keeping them from voting for it.
And as far as the governor's office is concerned, moratorium on bills still intact? What's going on?
Yeah, so the Senate passed the budget, and a couple of days after the governor had come out and said, "I'm not going to sign any more of your bills," and the basic response out of the governor's office when they were asked whether the moratorium would be lifted was, "Well, the budget out of the Senate was a good first step, but we're not quite there yet. So finish your work on the budget and on the expansion and on some of the other issues, and we'll revisit the issue at a later date."
As the Speaker shops his idea of sending this to the ballot, mostly along with other things, is the governor's side, are they pushing, are they shopping as well?
I think right now they're kind of sitting back. I mean, by all indications, they're sitting back. The folks that Andy Tobin's been going to in terms of these outside groups are the folks that have been supporting the governor since almost the beginning on this entire issue. So I think that the response we got from the governor's office was, hey, at least Andy Tobin, he's the first person who's come out with a plan of his own, who's put it on paper and has something that he can take around to people. And you know what? God bless him for going and doing that. And we're going to let him do it because I think they're confident that at the end of the day, he's going to have to come to them, and they're going to have to figure out a way to negotiate something.
Any idea when hearings would start? Last question.
No earlier than next week. Right now, there's no plans to do anything this week. I think the earliest it happens is after the Memorial Day holiday. But we'll have to see what kind of progress gets made. It got made today and gets made tomorrow and in the days to come.
All right. Good stuff, Jim. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals yesterday struck down an Arizona law that bans abortions after 20 weeks. Joining us for legal analysis on the ruling is Arizona State University law professor Paul Bender. Always a pleasure. Good to have you here.
Nice to be here.
What did the Ninth Circuit look at? What did they rule?
They ruled that Alabama, they have a law too, Arizona's law, which would ban abortions after 20 weeks of fetal life, that is, when 20 weeks after conception, was unconstitutional, violated Roe and Wade. And the reason for that is that Roe and Wade held that a woman has a right to an abortion up until fetal viability. And nobody thinks that fetuses are viable now at 20 weeks, maybe 24 weeks, maybe 25 weeks. And so if you pass a law which fixes a time that's pre-viability and says you can't have an abortion after that time, the Ninth Circuit says, well, that's unconstitutional because the Supreme Court has said that you have a right to an abortion up until the time of fetal viability, and the Arizona law clearly cuts that right off before fetal viability.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the Arizona side seemed to suggest that states are allowed reasonable restrictions and limits to abortions, and that the 20-week limit was reasonable because of A, B, and C.
They're allowed reasonable regulations, but they're not allowed to prohibit abortions until fetal viability. That's Roe and Wade is as clear as it can be on that. It says women have a right to have an abortion until the fetus is viable. So you can say that, okay, you have to do the abortion maybe in a hospital, you can say maybe you have to tell the woman this, that, or the other thing about the abortion. People have tried waiting periods and stuff like that. A lot of that's unconstitutional, but those are regulations. But this is not a regulation, this is a prohibition. Under the Arizona law, you cannot get an abortion if the fetus is more than 20 weeks. And you have a constitutional right to get an abortion up until fetal viability. So it's that period between 20 weeks and viability that it's unconstitutional to prohibit abortion during that time.
This ruling reversed a federal district court judge who did uphold the law, I think under those ideas and some others. Talk about why that decision was made and why the Ninth Circuit unanimously said no go.
The Ninth Circuit unanimously said it because it's clearly unconstitutional. A number of states have passed these laws that the time is different from one to another, but if you set a time before viability and prohibit abortion after that time, it is clearly unconstitutional under Roe and Wade. There's a lot of arguments, and some of them are very sensible, as to why maybe that's a bad rule. But that happens to be the law now, and the Ninth Circuit has to follow it. All the courts have to follow it, unless the Supreme Court is going to change it. What the district judge said a couple of things. He said, well, the fetus may feel pain at 20 weeks. Well, that may be true, but Roe and Wade isn't based on whether the fetus feels pain. It's based on viability, and it's been the law ever since that time. And he said a couple of other things. He said, well, they could have the abortion before 20 weeks, and so we're not stopping them from having an abortion. But that's inconsistent with what Roe said, which is that you have a right to an abortion until fetal viability. And so if the state says you can't have an abortion before viability, that's just got to be unconstitutional under Roe.
I know that the state, in arguing for this law, they were thinking, I think some were thinking, this is not a surprise out of the Ninth Circuit, it'll go further. Yeah. And there's an idea that you mentioned viability is a key word here, that the viability standard in and of itself needs to be re-examined by the Supreme Court.
There's a lot of reason to support that. The viability standard is a very unusual one because it turns upon a guess as to a medical, physical condition. Would this viability means the fetus is capable of living outside the womb. So how do you know whether a fetus is viable or not? It's a guess. It's a medical guess. And it's about something that's fairly subjective. I mean, what do you mean by capable of living? What are the chances that it would survive? Does it have to be 90% chance it would survive? The court did go out of its way to say capable of living either alone or in an incubator or some artificial device. But still, nobody knows exactly when a particular fetus is going to be capable of that. And it changes because the medical science changes and it's moved. The time of viability has moved earlier by a couple of weeks.
I was going to say, I think I read somewhere during Roe v. Wade, it was 28 weeks back in '73. It's now down to 23, 24, somewhere in those.
Well, something like that. Some people think it's 24, but everyone agrees, and that's one of the problems with the state's position in this case, was that the Ninth Circuit says, and I assume it's true, that everybody agreed that 20 weeks was not viable. Fetuses of 20 weeks were not viable. Well, once you agree that a fetus is not viable, the woman has a right to abort that fetus. That's just what Roe and Wade holds. So, yeah, there is reason, I think, to rethink the whole thing in terms of what you're trying to do here is you're trying to protect the woman's right, and you're also trying to protect fetal life as much as you can. And so what you really would maybe want to do is work out some system where women have a fair chance to have an abortion. And that may turn on the reason to want to have an abortion. Because women want to do it for different reasons. It may turn on when they find out about things. If you build all that flexibility into the system and you have a rule that lets women have an abortion, gives them a fair chance to have it so that they don't have an unwanted child, and then says, okay, you've had your fair chance, and now we're going to protect fetal life after that. That might be a workable standard, but that's not what Roe and Wade does.
So with that in mind, first of all, does this case likely try to make its way to the Supreme Court?
I would imagine they're going to try to get the Supreme Court to review this. There, as I said before, there are a number of states that have passed these statutes. The Supreme Court's not going to take all of those cases. So I think there is a good chance that it would take one of them, yeah.
And if it takes this case and the state really pushes that, let's look again at a viability standard, is this course A, likely to do it, and B, if so, what would you think they would rule?
This is not a good case.
How come?
To do that, because it's a fixed 20-week standard. And everybody agrees that the fetus is not viable at 20 weeks. So it's a direct confrontation with Roe and Wade.
Okay.
If a state tried to do something more flexible, which said sort of had rules about how you tell when a fetus is viable, so that it would help decide whether there's viability, that I think would have a much better chance of getting through the Supreme Court. In order to uphold the statute, the Supreme Court has to overrule Roe and Wade, and it has to come up with a completely new definition of when a woman has a right to an abortion.
So last question. Is this court, the makeup of the court and as it sits, is this a court, A, to consider, B, to perhaps make serious changes?
I think it's unlikely. There probably are 4 people on this court who would be willing to overrule Roe and Wade, dramatically change what Roe and Wade says. But Justice Kennedy joined an opinion some years ago in which he said he was not willing to do that. And I think he and 4 other people presently on the court, if he's not willing to do it, there are 4 other people on the court who would not be willing to do it. So I would think that the chances are that Roe and Wade would not be changed. And that means that there's a good chance that the court would not take a case like this, because people, even if you want to overrule Roe and Wade, you probably don't want to take a case that you know you're going to lose. So they may be waiting around for a statute that's a little bit more reasonable, more flexible than the Arizona statute.
Paul, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Nice to be here today.
Tonight's focus on Arizona technology and innovation looks at a new mobile eye tracking device developed in collaboration between the Technology-Based Learning and Research Center at ASU and Massively Parallel Technologies, a Scottsdale-based high-tech firm. Kevin Howard is with Massively Parallel Technologies. He joins us now to talk about the new software. It's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're talking visual engagement mapping.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, first of all, let me go back a little bit. The Teachers College was really kind of one of the drivers of this innovation. But visual engagement means that from looking at your eyes, we're able to tell whether or not you're getting the material that's being presented to you. That's, in a nutshell, what we're trying to do.
That you're understanding what you're looking at, what you're reading?
Whether you're playing a video game that is trying to teach you something, reading some content, or just interacting with an individual, how your eyes behave can be tracked.
Well, give us an example. I think we have a video of a kid doing something on a screen here. What are we looking at in his eyes there?
Okay, well, what you're looking at is placement of the eyes, dwell time, how it's scanning. Between the child, the game, and we have a supercomputer behind all of this, 256 cores. It's a reasonable sized machine. It's actually taking a map of where the eye ought to look based upon what the game is trying to present to the child, and determining from how long the child looks at various parts of the screen and how long they should be, and where their eyes are actually looking, whether or not the child is just lackadaisically doing things mechanically, or whether or not they're actually actively engaged in picking up the information.
And so when it comes to online learning, for example, the screen would be able to, with this software, figure out if whoever is watching this particular online lesson is is attentive, or actually, how can you differentiate between? I mean, some folks, you know, they're barely paying attention, but they're retaining everything. How does that dynamic work?
You know, that's actually a reasonably small percentage of the population over time.
Okay.
What you want to really do is say, on the averages, especially for smaller kids, are they engaged? Adults are much better at being able to look like they're not looking at anything or paying attention and actually are paying attention. Children, not so much. They don't have quite those same facilities.
And this is now developed for, it's mobile, so what? We're talking cell phones and tablets? And
Anything that's mobile. The whole world is going mobile.
Yes.
Or already there for many people. The problem is that you might have seen eye tracking kind of stuff on
Yes.
some cell phones, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being able to analyze not just the eye position, but all kinds of other factors, and do that in real time regardless of the computing power of your mobile device. So say you had your old flip phone. If it happened to have a camera on it, and they had an app on there that they were learning something from, we could use that because the computing power of that device is not driving it.
Interesting. And you're using, I'm guessing here, it's called Blue Cheetah software. Is that what the software that goes into everything from the flip phone to the iPad?
Actually, no.
No.
That's actually in a supercomputer way away from the mobile device. There's a tiny little piece of Blue Cheetah that's on each of these devices. But it's tiny because all the computing is done in the cloud. It's not done in the device.
Okay.
And so think about what that means. That means that you can literally have people all over the place, you know, multiple people doing massively multiplayer learning games, and the system is tracking all of them simultaneously and getting the merged effects of what the learning experience actually is.
And again, you worked with the ASU Technology-Based Learning Research Center. Talk about that collaboration.
Well, that's been a wonderful collaboration. Paul Sciarra and myself, we share grad students. His group, they make video games for teaching. They make not just video games, but a plethora of mobile training devices and tools. What we added to the party was the ability to take massive amounts of data, analyze it in real time, and then present that information back to the mobile device so that decisions can be easily made on the mobile device without the mobile device itself having to do the calculations.
So you're telling me that we could basically have a situation where I'm taking an online class and I think, I got this, I'm going on to the next chapter, and the computer says, no, you don't.
It's even better than that. Before you even get to that conclusion, as you're going through the material, the system can recognize, wait a minute, this person doesn't like to read. If you have 4 lines, the person's reading starts slowing down, they start drifting off. So instead of presenting it as large blocks of text, maybe we have to present it differently. And so the system can then present the information in a way that learns how you actually learn in real time, and then enables you to get the maximum experience.
That is fantastic. Now, it really is something. I mean, that is the next generation of learning devices, it would seem.
We believe that it is, and you can't really do that on an individual device by individual device basis. You have to have a cloud component that allows all of these pieces and parts, all of these devices to come alive together.
Massively parallel technologies?
Yes.
You're based in Scottsdale, SkySong, aren't you?
Well, all of our engineering is done in Scottsdale. We have a branch office in Colorado as well.
Okay.
But what we do is high-performance computing, large-scale, government-class, huge computing systems. What would you use these for? Weather modeling, as an example of what you do. What we try to do is take cutting-edge science in computer technology, and instead of applying it to the more traditional high-performance computing, things, oil exploration and the like, we said, what if we could take this technology and enhance the learning experience of our children by taking very high technology but presenting it in a way that's seamless and invisible to the child. So if it's invisible, all the child knows is that the experience is better. They have no idea that the reason the experience is better is because the system is understanding how they actually learn.
And I guess even if they did have an idea, they'd know, I better pay attention or the
Exactly.
computer's going to be messing with me a little bit.
Or learning what what's going on. Absolutely.
You got about 30 seconds left here. What's next for your company?
Well, for Massively Parallel in this engagement, we're going to go beyond just the mobile devices to whole classrooms. So because we have large-scale computing behind us, we can just cheaply put a few cameras in a classroom, very inexpensive nowadays, and determine the engagement level of the entire class, and then feed in real time to the teacher whether or not, which percentage of the classroom they're losing in real time so they can automatically adjust.
Oh, this is remarkable stuff. It's good to hear about it. It's good to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And Thursday on Arizona Horizon, we'll hear about Arizona Town Hall recommendations for improving higher education, and we'll look at an Arizona Science Center exhibition of Leonardo da Vinci. That's at 5:30 and 10 on the next Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Support for Arizona technology and innovation on Horizon comes from Intel, helping to transform the lives of millions through education, working with countries, communities, and schools worldwide to bring the resources and solutions needed for advancing education. For information, Intel.com.